All right, we'll get things started. Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming out on a beautiful summer evening. I'm Brent Todd. I'm the Ward 1 City Councilor, and I'm pleased to be here tonight to introduce this community information session. I want to give a couple of thanks first. Thanks to Penacook Village Association for assembling this meeting tonight and promoting it as well. And thanks to Concord TV for recording. So for those who are not here, they'll get a chance to gather the information as well from the video. And also my thanks to Merrimack Valley School District and the use of the facilities here tonight. Speaking of facilities, we had planned to have something available on the screen, having some technical difficulties, but we're going to walk through the presentation with you anyway. And I think there will be an opportunity for questions and answers afterwards as well, which is really one of the highlights here, because I know that a lot of folks do have some questions about the program generally. This is, of course, about the Community Power Coalition, the City of Concord joining the coalition, and what that will mean for our rates for electricity supply going forward when the program starts in, I believe, October. Is that when we're planning to start it? Right. So we have a couple of representatives here that will talk about the details tonight for you. I also want to point out that Beth Fenstermacher from the City of Concord is here tonight, and she will not be presenting, but she will be available for more information, and she's going to be listed on the city's website, so she's a point of contact for for any questions you might have going forward about the program. So with that, I'm going to hand things off to our talented team here. I do want to also just do a quick shout out thank you to the Concord Energy and Environment Advisory Committee for all the hard work that they've done putting together this program, investigating information, and doing outreach within the community about it. So for all of you who want to save money, you're in the right place. So I'll hand it over to you folks to introduce yourselves and take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Todd. My name is Jen Punseling-Cloutier. I am the UNH Sustainability Institute Fellow for the summer for the City of Concord. And I've been working this summer to help Concord build and employ their community power outreach and engagement plan. And so I'm also a recent UNH graduate. That's pretty much why I'm here. I just earned my degree in environmental conservation and sustainability. So this has been a really great experience at learning how strategic initiatives really kind of play out in the community area. And with me tonight is Chuck Willing. He is a representative of the Energy and Environment Advisory Committee for Concord, and he's also our member representative for Concord in the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire. I don't know if you want to say anything else. Nope. Other than that.
Yeah, I think that suffices.
So as we mentioned, we're here to talk about Concord Community Power, which is going to be a new program launching this fall. This stems from a few key city council decisions that have been made. In 2018, by a unanimous city council vote, the City of Concord adopted a 100% renewable energy goal for the entire community. Some of that includes all of the electricity consumed in Concord will come from renewable sources by 2030, and 100% of the thermal energy consumed in Concord will come from renewable sources by 2050, and all of our transportation in Concord will be clean transportation by 2050. Community power really focuses on that first point, that the electricity consumption. This is important because from a 2019 greenhouse gas emissions report that was done for the city and for the community, electricity consumption is roughly 20% of Concord's entire greenhouse gas footprint or carbon footprint. So this is a very good area for us to try to tackle those emissions and also at the same time save everybody money because the rates are cheaper. Awesome, are we good? Oh, cool. Oh my gosh. It's been a long time since I've heard my voice projected and so loud.
Now we'll try to talk lower.
Yes.
Softer.
But yes, back to where I was, our electricity consumption in Concord is a fairly large portion.
I'll move this back to where it was.
Of our carbon footprint in Concord. And in order to help reach this goal, in March of this year, City Council again voted unanimously to pursue community power programs and to approve Concord joining the coalition. I'm sorry for all the background sound with my mic. But before we get into exactly how community power operates, what it means for everybody, like what to expect, we wanted to kind of do a 20,000 foot overview about electricity and like what it is, where it comes from. Because even for me, up until a few years ago, it was just the power that came into my house when I flipped on a switch. A majority of the electricity that we use in New Hampshire and in New England is generated here in New England, and typically that is by burning natural gas or by nuclear power generation. We have 2 nuclear stations in the region, Seabrook, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with that, and we have 1 station down in Connecticut. Other than that, we have a decent bit of imported Canadian hydropower that plugs into our grid, and that is where a majority of our electricity source comes from. This mix of energy sources that helps power the region is called an energy portfolio, and currently New Hampshire law requires that 24.3% of this portfolio, so about a quarter of the portfolio, must come from renewable energy sources like solar, wind, and low impact hydro. As of next year, this percentage will max out at 25.2%, so not even an entire percentage more than what we currently are at. And just for some comparison to our New England neighbors, all 5 of our New England state neighbors are committed to 40% renewable energy portfolio standards by 2030. So another area that community power helps us is that it helps increase what local communities are already achieving on their own as far as renewable energy is considered. And also another refresher that the utilities' role in all of this and electricity is they procure or purchase the power. They then provide it to our region off of the transmission and distribution lines, and these are the lines and the poles that they in fact own themselves, which is why they will always continue to be a part, even through community power. There will still be Unitil and Eversource existing.
Yeah, I meant to add a little bit to that.
Yeah, thank you.
So our as Jen said, our utilities in Concord are Unitil and Eversource, but 99+% of Concord is served by Unitil, so that's most people's utility. In addition, for electricity supply, you're probably getting your electricity supply from the utility, but presently you have an option to get it from a competitive electric supplier as well that you can choose. A small percentage of people choose that. It's generally 10% or less. Most people get their power from the utility.
Thank you. So after a brief explanation of where electricity really comes from, what everybody's biggest point and biggest gripe with New Hampshire's electricity is, why is it so expensive? And this has a lot to do with state law as to how the utilities obtain their power, and this also has a lot to do with how that power is generated. So per state law, the utilities are required to purchase electricity needs for their customers at 6-month intervals every 6 months. This is why every 6 months we see a rate change with Eversource or Unitil. I say Eversource first because that's my community. We are an Eversource one, so please keep in mind Unitil for most of you. But state law also requires the utility companies that provide default energy service, it does not allow them to profit off of the electricity supply. So when Unitil goes out to the market and purchases 6 months of power at a time, it doesn't matter to them if they want to minimize those costs because they won't reap the benefits of that. They really don't have a lot of incentive to go out and get power for cheaper for the consumers. It doesn't affect their bottom line at all whatsoever, so there's not a lot of incentive or ability for them to do that. And utilities are generally required to purchase through the ISO New England wholesale markets, which when you purchase electricity on a wholesale market like that, you have a lot of electricity options by generation, by what was used to generate that power. And on ISO New England, it is primarily natural gas generated power, which means they purchase natural gas, burn it, combust it to generate that power, which also in turn means that when natural gas prices rise or skyrocket because we have some international affair going on, your electricity rates are absolutely going to see that effect. And as a result, all these things combined, kind of working together, is why New England has some of the highest and most volatile rates of electricity in the country. And this is just important to know as to why community power, like the Community Power Coalition, operates a little bit differently than these big investor-owned utilities, because they can procure power with community members in mind and do so with the incentive to help us all save money. Do you have anything for the next slide? Awesome. And so now we will get into what exactly is community power. I'm very bummed we don't have a presentation because I have some awesome graphics that I spent all summer working on. But community power is a feature of state law RSA 53E that allows towns, cities, counties to assume the role of their default energy supplier, so assume the role of the energy supplying aspect of Unitil or Eversource for their community to kind of use economies of scale to purchase the needs for their individual community, like Concord buying power for Concord residents without really having to go through the middleman that is the utility. And I mentioned the statute earlier, but authorized by RSA 53E, this enables communities to have a lot more local choice and local control over their energy goals, their energy futures, and what really works best for their community. For Concord, as we've mentioned, we have joined the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, which is a nonprofit joint ventures that really exists to serve the community members that they help with community power programs. And so the big reason why we're here, why do community power, that's really what we're here to kind of sell and help you guys get excited and get excited for it, just like me. But one of the biggest things is cost savings. We've talked about it a little bit, but on my awesome presentation, but also on these fantastic one-pagers, these handouts we brought, we have the rate card, which is the comparison of rates between what the coalition is offering and what Unitil and Eversource are currently offering. Thank you, Beth, for handing them out. And you can see that Concord Community Power is going to be launching with rates lower than that of Unitil or Eversource or the New Hampshire Electric Co-op. That's just a small player in the game and is not listed. Our default service that everybody will be opted in at for the beginning of the program is Granite Plus, which is that second option in blue. And our second big why do this big benefit for the community and for individuals is the clean energy opportunities that come with this. If you see on the rate card, you'll see the renewable energy amount or portfolio amount on the left-hand side, and you'll see the percentage breakdown of how much renewable energy is backing that energy level. So this helps Concord and Concord residents like individually have control over their greenhouse gas emissions, and this is really beneficial for Concord to help reach that 100% renewable energy goal. Additionally, there are no penalties or fees if you wanted to change your energy level. You can opt up to a different, to Granite, to Clean 50 or to Clean 100. You could opt down to Granite Basic if that's what suits your needs at this moment. But anytime you change energy levels, you will not incur a fee or a penalty. This is really meant for people to exercise their choice, exercise what works best for them and their income in their household. Oh, and per state law, This is not funded by any taxpayer dollars. It is entirely self-funded. Any money generated by the ratepayers is what covers the There's no taxpayer dollars used in this whatsoever.
Yep. Yeah, especially because we don't have the visuals here. I want to kind of walk through some of these numbers just so you really understand them. So the present utility electric supply rates are for Unitil, 10.506 cents per kilowatt hour. Eversource is a little bit less than that. So under community power, the default offering, what people will be put on if they don't choose something else, is 9.3 cents as compared to 10.506 cents. And that translates to a savings per month for an average, a household with average electric use of $8 a month or $96 a year to get put on Granite Plus, which offers a higher amount of renewable energy than Unitil currently provides. In addition, you have other options. You can opt for the cheapest power offered by the Community Power Coalition, which is called Granite Basic, at 8.6 cents and save even more, but get the same amount of renewable electricity that the utility currently provides. Or you can opt up to Clean 50, getting 50% renewable energy, still at a savings to the utility at 50% renewable energy, twice as much renewable energy. Or you can opt for Clean 100, getting 100% of your renewable energy at 12 cents per kilowatt hour, which is a bit more than the utility rate. By my calculation, a household with average use selecting Clean 100 would pay $10 extra per month, which is $120 per year. So those are the options. In addition to all the Clean Power Coalition or Concord Community Power options, you can choose to remain on utility service if you want, or you can choose for a competitive electric supply option if you want. Basically, you have more choices than you did before, including the opportunity for cheaper electricity. And if you do nothing, you will get cheaper electricity with more renewable energy.
Thank you. And that is a part of what would have been our next slide, is some more additional benefits to community power. The first one being that it helps everyone save money and reduce the electricity price volatility over time. As I mentioned a little bit ago, the coalition is a nonprofit. It does not operate the same way that investor-owned utilities like Eversource, Unitil, and Liberty do. They're, straight to the point. They don't turn as much of a profit. They don't need to, because they don't have investors backing them this way. And this is a part of how they're able to offer more competitive and affordable rates. Historically, through every wave launch of communities, CPCNH has been able to consistently provide rates lower than Unitil and Eversource. And so their main mission here is to help Granite Staters save money and help the communities exercise more control and choice in their own energy futures and their own energy goals. Secondly, as I just mentioned, it leads into more local control over our energy portfolio. I think I've kind of beat this horse a little bit, but Concord's renewable energy goals are very ambitious, and if we really want to be on the best path to reach 100% renewable energy goals, community power through the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire really just gives us as a whole community and us as individuals more choice and more power to do so. As far as consumer choice in the electricity for our home, as Chuck just mentioned, you have so many more options with the community power model than you do just sticking with your default service, or even if you were to go to your competitive supplier. A lot of the times, if you go to the PUC, the Public Utility Commission's website, there's a list of all of the third-party and competitive suppliers in the state, if you take a look at their rates, I just looked this morning, some of them are like upwards of 15 cents per kilowatt hour, which is even more so than Unitil's. So competitive supply, you usually, it's very predatory too. They kind of hook you in with a really nice intro rate, and then your rate skyrockets out of nowhere. So you just have the option to either say no to community power by opting out and removing yourself from the program. You can stay at Granite Plus, which is our default. You can go down to Granite Basic, or you can change your level even higher if you'd like, but there's just so much more tangible choice in community power models, which is another big part of why Concord decided to go with this.
So you get the same service if you have a power outage?
Yes, actually, Unitil, it would still respond to things like that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because Unitil would still be the poles and wires utility, still delivering the power to your house. They would be the one who would still address, as they do right now, a physical power outage. It's simply that the power that is delivered to you under this program would be procured by the Community Power Coalition in the way that they do it, as opposed to the utility doing it.
So this is where it's, again, a bummer. We don't have our presentation because I have a slide with a mock Unitil bill that shows you precisely what portion of your bill will be changing. Community power programs are just affecting the supply portion. So they are the ones that are going and procuring the power. They're supplying it in that aspect, but since Eversource / Unitil Liberty, since the utility companies own the poles and wires, they handle the distribution, which is the other side of your bill, the distribution, and then you have your supply side. But jumping into this, I think that's a good jumping into point to talk about the momentum that the Community Power Coalition has had in New Hampshire. Since April 2023, when there were no community power programs operating in the state of New Hampshire, fast forward to today, to August 2024, there's over 50 communities that have chosen a community power program, and most of them are serviced by the coalition, with a few exceptions that chose a different brokerage model. But in addition to Concord and a few, like about 20 other communities that are launching in October, this will then, catapult that number up to 70 communities that are serviced by a community power option. So Concord is not taking like a crazy step doing this. There have been 70 other communities at the point in October that will be in addition to the coalition launching. Nashua's launched, second largest city in the state. So this is a really good opportunity for Concord to capitalize on the momentum generated by every other community joining the coalition and seeing how strong and how great of a choice and great options we have together.
Yeah, can I add something to that?
Absolutely.
Just a couple of points to add to that. I wish we could share this information, but the communities in the Community Power Coalition have tallied up basically what is the aggregate amount of the cost savings that have happened in their communities, and it's in the millions of dollars when you add up everybody's electric bill in that community. And that's, we can expect to experience savings for our whole community as a whole in that range as well. Like, that's how it adds up. And that's basically, dollars in your pocket, which means dollars in the local economy, which is a really good economic thing. On the geography of this, Jen talked about the 50 odd communities that currently have operating programs, are already getting community power, and the 20 or so that expect to get community power this fall when we expect to get it. Those numbers include every single community that borders Concord. I think there are 7 or 8 communities. Every single one of them is either currently served by community power or will be when Concord is in October. So that, just gives you a sense of how much things are moving. Oh, and one other factoid, the Community Power Coalition currently serves communities that have populations that are 27% of the overall state population. When Concord and others join this fall, I think that's going to be 35%. And they project, if things go as they have gone, that the Community Power Coalition will serve communities representing over 50% of the state within a couple of more years.
Where's this Grant Plus location? It's not a place.
Yeah, it's I believe ISO New England. It's not a tangible place. That's just the name Granite Plus for the energy offering. Chuck, you would know more about energy procurement through the coalition than I would.
Yeah, where does Granite? Where does the power come from? How does the Community Power Coalition do what it does? Is that the no? What?
For paying bill.
Oh, you will. It'll all be on your utility bill. Same one that you get right now. It'll just say Concord Community Power, where it currently says, I don't know, just supply.
Yeah, supply. It'll say unit supply services Unitil on your horizontal light blue bill, and on the supply side it'll switch after October to Concord Community Power, and it should have the rate listed. If you go with Granite Plus, it'll be 9.3 cents per hour, but that's the portion, the right hand side of your bill is the only thing that will change because they own the because they own the polls. They're in charge of sending out the bill, so it'll tangibly look like you're paying Unitil, but the Community Power Coalition is the one getting the power and supplying your house on the grid with that power.
Yeah. That's the way it currently works with competitive electric supply, which maybe nobody in this room is on, I don't know, but if you were on it, you would be getting one bill from Unitil that would have the competitive electric suppliers' electric supply rate blended in with Unitil's distribution rate, Unitil's transmission rate, and the other Unitil charges. So Community Power is going to operate exactly like that, one bill.
I did have the competitive supply, but not you want to say too expensive. But on my bill, it just says that there's one section for the distribution, and it has whatever the rate I'm paying, and then the next one is electricity supplier. That's the coalition. So it may have, instead of saying like Grant Plus, it will say 33% for the pennies per kilowatt hour.
Awesome. Just because I'm not good with percentages, but when we were talking about the percentage of the population that coalition services, I did the math, and right now they currently service over 375,000 people. So this is hopefully not going anywhere, because this is a really great thing for New Hampshire. More affordable power, more competitive power, so it's not just the monopoly of the utilities, and cleaner green energy options. We've kind of talked about it a lot, but now we're going to get into the weeds of how this is going to work. In late August, around the 21st, 22nd, is when the Community Power Coalition will send out notices through the mail, first class mail. You should receive it within about a week or so. We do have an example copy we can pass around of what to expect in the mail, what to see, so you know what to look for. But yes, Beth has it. She's our city staff who's doing what should be the intern levels work. But
One is for Bosquen, so don't pay attention to what it says.
yes.
There's a few I didn't make a bunch of copies, but if you want to pass them around, just so you know that you don't throw this away when it comes in the mail.
Exactly. But in late August, this mailer will be sent out. It'll say Concord Community Power, because we are Concord or Penacook residents. And the letter will detail in much more in-depth detail, got my words mixed up there, about the program, all the everything that has to go into it. What is important to note is that if you currently receive electricity from Unitil or Eversource, but mostly Unitil, is that you will have the chance to either opt out and leave the program. You will have the chance to change your energy program. You can opt down to Granite Basic. You can opt up to Clean 50 or Clean 100. And if you take no action, you will just be enrolled in our Granite Plus. That is what Concord considers our default energy. Oh, low battery. It says low battery.
Okay.
That's fine.
Now we're back to coming up here.
Now we're back up front. Well, this is interesting. But if you currently receive electricity from Unitil, like I'm sure 100% of us here do, you have options. You can change your energy level to Granite Basic, to Clean 50, Clean 100. You can, if you are happy with Unitil and with their rates, you can leave the program and continue with Unitil. And also, like I mentioned before, if any of this changes, if you want to change it, will be Clean 50 for 1 month and then change it down to see what the difference is for Granite Basic for another month, you can do so without incurring any fees or any penalties. Like, this is meant for the people, it's by the people, for the people. We kind of talked about competitive suppliers and third-party suppliers, that if you are one of those customers that already reaches out and gets their own competitive supply, you will have the opportunity to opt yourself in to the program. Because you are already getting competitive supply, you're not a default customer considering the utilities. So you just don't get opted in right off the bat. That's might be just a CPCNH thing. I don't know precisely why. I think that's
the brokers do it the same way.
That's the brokers do it the same way. Awesome. And if you are a solar or net metering customer, this is where things get a little bit tricky. You have the opportunity to opt in, but the coalition strongly advises you take into consideration your own situation, because they cannot actively credit net metering customers. There's issues with the utilities and data being shared, and a lot of legislative things that are above my level that Chuck can talk about a little bit more, but net metering customers are not encouraged to jump into community power right now.
I was going to say, we hope that they will. The intent of the law was to capture net metering customers as well, but because the community power programs don't get the data that is needed to properly credit net metering customers for their exports to the grid, they can't do that. So the message to net metering customers is stay on utility power until that situation is resolved. But kind of as Jen was alluding to, different net metering customers may have different situations in terms of how much they export to the grid. So it might be that even if you're a net metering customer, it makes sense economically for you to be on community power, but that's something you should call somebody who can work through your situation with you to determine what the right answer is. Most net metering customers should stay on utility power for now, and we expect that no net metering customers, if we get the right data on this question from the utilities, will be automatically moved over to community power.
Is there a downside to this? Is there an issue with supply and demand, brownouts? What would be the downside?
Of moving to community power? Well, one caveat I should definitely mention is that the rates we showed you are 6-month rates. So come February 1st, the utility rates are going to be different and the community power rates are going to be different. But we've had 4 rate periods so far in which community power has operated. And in every single one of those 4 rate periods, the Community Power Coalition rates, all the way up to 50% renewable energy, have beaten Unitil's rates. So there's an extremely high probability, I would say, going forward that you will continue to see those kinds of savings. However, rates change, rates move, both for the utilities and for the Community Power Coalition. It could be that the rate you see for this fall will be a higher rate next spring if that's what the energy markets are dictating.
So at this
it's all the same pole and the same wires,
Yep.
are they changing out our meter?
No change of meter.
They read.
I have, if I'm using the same.
Yeah, there is, you will, once you are switched to community power, 100% of your electricity will come from the community power provider, and they know between them what the electricity consumption is for the whole community. So from your standpoint as an individual resident, it will be seamless.
So all our utilities are underground, so I just wondered.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
No.
won't.
Yeah,
physically
no
change
change in meters. I should say, like, the hope and dream of energy innovators is to have better smart meters in the future. So at some point you might see that, but there'll be no immediate change associated with switching to this program.
You had your hand up? Yep.
Oh,
Do we point to two separate people?
Okay.
Of course. I saw your hand up first, so
Kathy.
Kathy.
Just as a follow-up, can you explain how community power sets their rates
Yes.
and how often they do that? Do they abide by the same rules as the utility?
Yes, the utility or the Community Power Coalition decides every 6 months what its rates are going to be. They decide and give customers, as the utilities do, at least 30 days notice of the new rates. So for instance,
How do they decide it? What do you mean?
how do they decide it? They are procuring power all the time, so they have a rough idea of what their power costs are and what their overhead is, so they're able to calculate a rate based on that.
So do they have to follow the same rules as the utility, or is this just a convenience?
They have to publish their rates 30 days in advance. So I don't think they aren't required by law to necessarily do it on a 6-month basis like the utilities do,
Right.
but they do that right now.
But it's convenient.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had another, I have another question, but go ahead. You sure? Oh, thank you. What happens if the city builds a solar array?
Yeah.
Will that help lower our rates even more?
Yeah, I'm going to give a multi-part answer to that. There are solar projects being contemplated right now, and I won't get into it too much because I don't want to jump the gun, but those immediate projects, or the couple I'm thinking of, are meant to serve the city's municipal government needs. So that will not be affecting the community needs. However,
But that does impact your tax rate.
does impact your tax rate, so that's a positive impact. But the hope will be going forward that we will see more local solar projects or other kinds of projects to serve our community power program that will be mixed in with all this other power that we're purchasing. And that might be the primary means by which we increase our renewable energy consumption with locally generated renewable
Like on
energy.
a high school,
It could be any,
maybe?
on a high school, on buildings, parking lot canopies, some probably on open ground as well, on, farms if they want to lease out some land for that. So there are some impediments or inconveniences in state law right now that kind of make that hard, that we're trying to get fixed as we're trying to work out the kinks of how this can best work. But so for now, basically what community power is doing is buying power on the markets, buying RECs, which are the renewable energy credits, to go with that power and delivering it. But there's doing it in a better way, basically, than the utilities do it.
But they don't make any big adjustments, except for every 6 months.
Yeah, every 6 months. So they're subject to markets like the utilities are, but what the big difference, a big question will be, why is the Community Power Coalition able to do this when the utilities aren't? And it's basically because the Community Power Coalition is constantly buying trading, selling power in the markets at optimal
I
times.
have a hard time with that.
Okay.
Because if they're doing that, why aren't they adjusting their rates more often? Because they're business. No, they're not. They're a nonprofit.
Yeah, it becomes administratively impossible to do that, I would say.
All right.
And don't they want to be comparable to the utilities, and the utilities do it every 6 months? So they want to be rate.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want
Yeah,
between the, during the 6
Yeah.
months, as far as getting a good price. But as far as dating, or this is what the rate's gonna
Committing
be,
to a rate.
they're trying to sync with the utilities.
Yeah. I just don't think it's a good model to sink in with.
Well, I mean, all I can say is it's delivering rates that give people real savings. And, the more complicated you make it, the more confusing you can make it for people, as well as the more difficult it becomes to administer on the supplier.
The
So,
co-op is able to do it.
how often do the co-ops rates change?
But they have been lower than Eversource.
I guess I would just add the coalition, because they're started a little over a year ago, they're looking at developing more different rate options that may allow people to either get more maybe a shorter term rate like you're talking about, or a longer term, more than 6 months flat rate, if that's what you prefer. So among the choices that it's offering right now, it will at some point offer even more choices so you can customize to your own
Thank you for that.
liking.
No, I think this is super exciting, just for the record.
Yep.
Yeah, no worries.
I have solar panels.
Yep.
So and I pay Unitil some sort of delivery charge, but if it's a really cloudy month, then I have an electric bill.
Yep.
So am I still eligible for community?
You are eligible for it. I think it sounds like you net meter, so in sunny months you're delivering more power to the utility than you're getting, but in in other months you're.
It's a lease system, so
Oh, it's a.
Sunrun handles that.
Okay, so you don't own it, but I'm guessing you're net metering, or that some of your power goes to the grid. So most likely what you should be doing when this launches in October is not moving over to community power. And if we get the right data from the utility, we will not move you over to community power, because what we want to be able to do is credit you for what you deliver to the grid. So that's the way it should work for you.
I don't think I get the credit.
You don't? You think Sunrun does?
People I lease from.
Okay. Okay. Then I think it should still be your utility meter. Yeah, maybe we can talk after the meeting. We can sort that out a little bit more. But for folks like you, in general, we don't want to move it over because of this problem that we're having with the utility data. But cross our fingers. Next year, possibly at some point that'll be solved, and you can be fully in this program and getting credit.
So for those people who are residents, let's see a lot of residents here, obviously they'll be invited into the program. What about business owners? What about our local businesses? Are they involved as well?
The local businesses are involved if they're small businesses. Actually, anybody can be involved, but the small businesses are treated from a customer standpoint like residences, and they would be pulled in. Large customers who are categorized differently by the utilities are not automatically moved over, and many of those customers already have their own competitive electric supply arrangements. So for those folks, it's going to be opt-in if you want, and if you're locked into a contract with a supplier, you may not want to opt in right away. But the Community Power Coalition is working hard to sort of offer a competitive product to those customers as well that hopefully is better than any of the other options they've got. I don't know that we clarified it enough, but I want to clarify it here and now. Residential customers and small commercial customers are treated as opt-out customers under this program, meaning you will be moved over to Community Power unless you opt through the notice letter that you're going to be getting not to do that. But people who are on competitive electric supply, and that would definitely include the large commercial customers, are opt-in, because we can't, the idea behind that is you can't pull people out of contracts that they might be in. So for those people, if they're able to get out of the contract without a penalty or choose to pay the penalty to get out of the contract, come on over and join us. For others, it may be, I'm going to wait a few months and, till my contract expires, then I'll come into the Community Power program, and you can do that. Or you can keep doing whatever you're doing, whatever you want. But there is a difference between the residential and small commercial that are treated on an opt-out basis versus those on competitive electric supply and large customers who are treated on an opt-in basis.
And if you go over and you don't want it, can you go back?
Yes. You can be in Community Power. Maybe you wanted to not be in and you missed the deadline for getting in. Well, maybe you're on it for a month, but you can get out. Or you, as Jen was saying, you can move around to different products. Or,
No penalties whatsoever.
yeah, try it out. Don't like it.
What constitutes a small or a large?
It has to do with your electricity demand, and I don't remember the exact number, but the utility categorizes large electricity consumers that have large overall demand in a different way than they categorize smaller, your basic mom and pop, or Main Street storefront store will be a small customer treated just like residents.
Yeah, a lot of the larger ones are like
the big box
hospitals, airports. I don't know about Concord Airport, but a lot of the very large commercial and the CNI, commercial and industrial
sure,
people.
Hannaford and Market Basket and Best Buy and all those places are larger customers.
Without any other questions, something we've mentioned and we've had a lot of conversation about already is like, what does this mean as far as your bill goes? Just the supply portion is going to be changing. Your bill will still come delivered to you from Unitil. And for all intents and purposes, it looks like you're signing a check or electronically signing a check to Unitil, but it will be the supply portion, the right-hand side of your Unitil bill. If I got the correct example, should be the right-hand side is what will change and will reflect the Community Power. Concord Community Power will be your supplier. Other than net metering, two other exceptions, which I'm not entirely sure if they would apply to people in this community, but we just wanted to put it out there regardless. If you are a part of the EAP, the Energy Assistance Program, Electric, thank you. My screen went dark and so did my brain. Thank you. If you participate in the EAP program through your utilities, which is a small monthly discount for rate consumers who need it, that discount will continue to apply on your Community Power bill. I'm fairly certain that probably applies to your distribution, which is how it's able to continue to apply for you even after you're moved over to Community Power. The other exception is budget billing, as if you are a community member who uses the budget billing system in the winter, if your program might be reset. We did get a response email from this for that.
Yeah, budget billing, and I don't know if that would apply to anyone in this room. It's a program under which, with the utility, you can kind of flatten out your electric bill over the course of the year. So you're softening your high month bills, but paying a little bit more in months that would otherwise be lower. And so basically you have an account with the utility for all that. And if you at least the way it works right now, if you transfer to community power, they might just stop the clock on that and say, oh, you owe X, or we owe you X. So that's an issue. We asked whether that's been a big problem in other communities, heard that it hasn't been, but it must affect someone, I would think. So, but we want to disclose that fully.
You can overpay during those months.
Yeah.
Continue anyway.
Right.
Give you a credit.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
I think that wraps up. We talked a lot about net. Oh, go ahead. No, you're fine. Go ahead, please.
At the community meeting about this last year, they talked, we had our friends from Canterbury come and talk about their program. And one of the things that they did with theirs was they had a extra charge that they had accumulated in a savings.
Yep.
And that savings account, they are going to decide as a community how to spend it. Like
Yep.
on a solar array
Yep.
to lower, or to purchase, mini splits for community members, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Has that been contemplated for the?
Yes,
future?
it's been contemplated. I should. It just occurs to me that the TV may hear you and me, but may not hear what the questions are. So we should probably repeat the question. So it's basically the question is the questioner heard at a presentation last fall about an opportunity for communities to build a fund that they can use for different energy uses that they may choose. And that's a part of what the coalition does, though there are two ways that gets funded. The coalition is trying to build up reserves called joint reserves for its own viability, for its own credit worthiness. And when it gets enough reserves, some of those will spill over and be allocated to the member communities. But kind of more quickly and actively, the communities can, if they choose, set up what's called a discretionary reserve. And the way you do that is a community may choose to charge an additional amount on top of the Community Power Coalition rates. And that extra money would go into that reserve account. We, for Concord, we've not opted for that at the start because we're trying to keep it simple at the start. And the decision to charge something like that would be a city council decision, not a energy committee decision. So at some point, if we think the time is right and we think we have an idea for what a good use of that money might be, we might propose to the city council to do an adder like that. But some communities are currently using adders. And probably more will over time as they get used to the idea.
I had one other question too. So what, just sort of summing up, what folks should be looking for is in August, they're going to get something in the mail. It's not going to be part of their electric bill. It's going to be separate. It might look like junk mail. Don't throw it away.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
Open it up because it's going to say community power, something or other, right, on there. And something on the envelope, I'm assuming, that's going to hopefully catch your attention, like, this is important information about changes upcoming to your bill. So it's not a sales gimmick. It's information that you'll want to have.
Yes.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what goes on the envelope.
Yeah, well, hopefully something like, I'm
learned
just
that
assuming, right?
But yeah. Do not throw away that mailing.
Yeah.
And it'll contain information about how community power works and all that, but also how you can opt. And the ways you can opt are, main ways, you go to a website that's in this mailing that'll tell you how to go there. There's also a QR code you can scan that will tell you how to go there. Or there's an 800 number you can call and you can opt that way. And I'm told that there's an email address you can email and you can do it that way. And you will, what?
No, there is no US mail option. We found that out simultaneously today. I also thought there would be a mail-in option because for all intents and purposes, I am from Keene, so I did have the mail-in opt action. So that's what I thought as well.
Yeah.
But it is just going to be electronic or through the phone.
Yeah.
You can call them.
You can use the phone number, might be the best option for you. So you will get this letter, it will arrive in late August, and you should have up until the time of your meter read in October, and different people have different dates, so I can't tell you a different date, but it's probably, maybe the 10th or around the middle of the month, but might be different for you, I don't know. And up to 3 business days before that to make a different option if you want to do it, if you want your option to be effective in October. Let's say you miss that date, whatever it is, you're 5 days late. Your option will simply take effect in November rather than in October. That's all.
And then if people have questions or they want more information in the meantime or even after that, there's a city website. Help me out, Beth. It's
on that handout, concordnh.gov/communitypower. So pretty much everything they're mentioning here today will be on there.
Yep.
The city does not handle like the opting in or any of that. That's that separate company. So if you call, I may just tell you to call that number instead, but we'll have those numbers up there so you can always find. If you happen to throw that away or you don't get the mailer for whatever reason, you can always go to the city website. There'll be a link, and all you'll need is your account number from your current utility bill. So those are the key information. That there'll always be a link through the city's website after August 21st. That's sort of the key date, August 21st. That's when the information goes out. That's when the website goes live. That's when you can start doing stuff. Before then, you can't do anything. So if you get access to that phone number before August 21st, they don't know who you are because they don't have your account numbers yet.
Yeah,
Can
that
you upload her presentation?
Yes, sorry, I was going to mention that. Yep, we'll upload the presentation so you can go to that website and see the presentation. There's also links to other previous presentations that Kathy mentioned. Those are on there. Concord TV is here tonight. We'll have that linked on there. I'll give them the presentation, so if you want to watch this all again, you can watch it. They'll splice that, or if you want to share the link with your neighbors, get it out there.
Yeah.
So August 21st.
Yes.
yes. So
Yeah. And actually, hopefully too, what we'll have is that in the video of tonight's meeting, it might not be bad to rewatch it because we'll hopefully be able to insert the visuals that
yes,
we're missing
for
from the
sure.
presentation tonight. So you can actually get to see some of the examples that were discussed and all the fantastic work that's been done. For how long have you been working on this now? I had one other question then. Right now, we understand what the rates are. They've been set. So as you mentioned, this is like every 6 months this is going to happen. How will people be able to learn about what the new rates are in 6 months' time?
Yeah. I'll just say I am Concord's representative to the Community Power Coalition. I'm also on the board of directors of the Community Power Coalition and on the committee that first takes a look at the rates. So I will be letting everybody within the city know about rates as soon as we possibly know. But that doesn't help you. It'll be on the websites with that 30-day notice period that's required. The rates are also published at the PUC website, so you can go there and find out what the rates are as well. So timing-wise for the next rate period, the decisions about the rates will be made in the last days of December, posted by January 1st, effective February 1st, which is how it works for the utilities right now as well.
And for those folks who are non-electronic by choice, what will they be able to also be able to receive and understand that information about the new rates?
It doesn't get mailed out to people, so you won't get it that way, nor do you get that from your utilities right now. The rates just change when they change. So I'm sure there are phone numbers you can call at the PUC, and you could call these phone numbers probably for the Community Power Coalition and find out. But unfortunately, there's no mailer when the rates change.
Energy and Environment Committee meeting.
yes,
Talk about it.
yes.
It's also a good cure for insomnia, if that's an issue. But, yeah.
Got another question back there, I think.
I just wanted to clarify something. I read a lot about, well, you can change anything anytime you want, have no fear. But when somebody wants to opt up or opt out or whatever, does that always take place at the next meter read?
What we've been told is if you give it 3 business days advance notice, it should take effect at the meter read.
Oh,
So plan on that. Maybe you add a couple of days for safety margin if you want. Will it work that way for every single person? I'm sure there are instances where somebody's request doesn't get implemented, but it should.
so when we begin the whole thing
Yep.
for the first time, is it on each individual's meter read date in
Yeah.
October?
So somebody may start receiving community power on October 9th, somebody on October 12th, somebody on October 15th. Yeah. So it's hard to. We'll know that at the end of October, all of Concord will be, or at least those who have not opted out, will be on community power. The
So
P-
you say that with the granite plus, we're going to pay less, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, second thing, that the biggest concern I have for electricity anywhere I am is the power outlet. That when there's no power.
Yep.
So, how can you guarantee us that when we join this room, there will be no like often because I live very close to this place. So since I came here like 2 years ago, I've never had any power outlet. So do you say that with this there will be no like often power outage?
Yeah, there'll be no difference from what your current situation is on that. When you get a power outage, it's usually caused by a physical event somewhere, and the poles and wires and substations will still be owned and operated by Unitil. And if there's a storm or a lightning strike hits something, or a tree falls on a line and that causes a power outage, it will still cause a power outage with community power. That's not different. The fact that the supplier of electricity is changing won't affect power outages or whether you get them or don't get them.
Well, people just, every 6 months they buy power, so will these numbers change every 6 months?
Every 6 months they will change, and it's based on, mainly on what is the Community Power Coalition's cost of power, just as it is for Unitil, what is Unitil's cost of power. The difference between the two is that the Community Power Coalition is going out sort of constantly trying to find what is the best time to buy power and buying it when it's optimal, versus the utility going out on a specific date every 6 months, whether or not it's optimal, and buying at that point. That's the basic difference between how they purchase.
So some people are going to change every 6 months because the rates are going to change?
Yeah, I mean, we may find from the Community Power Coalition standpoint that if rates move around and it's, at some point it seems less appealing, that people may choose different things. But we're confident that, most of the time, like I said, we can't guarantee that it will always be the lowest rate, but the track record's pretty good so far, and we feel confident that we will beat the utility rate. So therefore even if we're only slightly below the utility rate versus a lot below the utility rate, we shouldn't see a lot of migration out of the community power program.
So also the more people on the grid, then cheaper it is too?
I'm sorry, I did.
More people who opt into it. Does that change the pricing?
The pricing won't change for the 6 month period. When you're talking about like large numbers of people, if a few people opt in and a few people opt out, it's just not going to change how it looks from the Community Power Coalition standpoint. So.
Anybody else have any other questions? Oh, we do.
My neighbor's not here, but if they don't know anything about this, come October, they're in, right? Okay.
Yep.
So basically,
Unless they're net
so if
meter.
we lose this in the mail or whatever, stuff like that,
Yeah.
we're gonna be
Yeah.
in it, because we've essentially been opted
Yeah.
in.
Yes.
Yeah, Yeah,
That-
exceptions to that are if you're on competitive electric supply, you're not in unless you opt in. And if you're a net metering customer, if all goes well, you won't be pulled in because we don't want to, take away the.
Who's net metering?
They
Yes,
are
they
supposed
should.
to.
Okay.
It depends on the utility data, and I've heard of isolated instances of some net metering customer not being properly listed, but it should work and definitely will work for most people. But let's say your neighbor who doesn't read the mailing that comes, throws it away, does read their next bill and say, what is this community power stuff? I didn't want that. They can opt out at any point.
Well, if they read the bill.
Yeah, if they read it.
Yes.
It looked like junk mail. I didn't read that. So.
Anything else for anybody? How about the nice round of applause for
Thank
our
you.
guests, Jen and Chuck. Thank you very much. And
Thanks,
Beth,
guys.
thank you. We can hold, this is great. We can hold a retro meeting and everything went fine. But again, when you do watch the video presentation of this meeting, everything that we said about, gee, we wish we had the slide here for it, those will be in there. So you'll be able to see the visual part of it. So we'll be sending around the link for that.
The nice work she did.
Thank
yeah,
you.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. All, the
All
great
my
work
hard
you did,
work.
Yeah.
One thing that was on your last slide that you
Yes.
mentioned is we'll have more meetings.
Yes, more
Yes.
meetings.
Right.
Live, September 4th at the Heights Community Center or September 17th at City Hall Chambers. The coalition will be there, members from the coalition, so you can ask even harder questions of them because they operate the business. And then if you have questions of how to opt in, opt out, we could be there to help you through that process or your neighbors. So if you can help get the word out, that would be wonderful. So that's.
Yeah. I
That
mean,
was-
our goal is that as many people as possible in the community know about this before it happens. That we won't achieve perfection on that, probably won't come close, but we do want to maximize people. Don't want to catch people by surprise with us.
Yeah.
This count would have been nice. I just had 7 people move out of my house. I've been there 10 months, so my bills were so high.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, that's the hope,
And
though.
now they're-
That's
That's
the
the
hope
hope.
of this.
And you would save even more. You know,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
numbers we were using are based on the average electric use, and obviously nobody's right at the average.
Yeah.
You may be above it or below it, but it sounds like you would have been above it, and
Yep.
you would have saved even more.
Oh, yeah.
And if they come back, then the savings will reappear.
yeah.
Conservative, so I was always on them every day. Turn off the light.
This is also not a call to actually use more electricity.
Yeah.
In other
True.
words, you're going to be
That is
saving $8 or
true.
$10 a month. Oh, I can just keep lights on.
Crank the
We're still
thermostat.
encouraging conservation in that regard. But
Turn off the hot tub.
that's right. That's right. But I think that the idea is, and this is why the City of Concord endorsed the concept of trying joining the Community Power Coalition, was that we always are looking for options where, and the city government isn't specifically involved in this, but we're still, as a governmental entity, always looking for options where we can help residents and save dollars. So this will hopefully prove to be very successful in that regard. So any other closing thoughts before we wrap up? And then I'll,
I'm sorry,
yeah,
I can't-
okay,
I can't
yeah,
myself.
Beth.
You're just
I
presenting
have
now.
people
Yeah.
here. So we are going to be in the fall, hopefully working towards a weatherization campaign. So this goes back to the conservation and saving money. It's not just about saving money on your bills, but it's saving money by reducing the energy that you use. So keep your eye out for that over the winter, and it'll be cost savings for doing like
Energy audit.
insulation or heat pumps or anything like that. So hopefully that'll be rolling out through the Energy and Environment Committee. We'll bring it through City Council over the winter time. And then the state just got a huge grant for heat pumps as well. So more information is going to be coming out about that. So hopefully we can get more heat pumps and save people even more money as time moves on. So.
Very
I'll
good.
stop.
Very
good.
exciting
Thank you.
time to be
Yeah.
a New
Thank you.
Hampshire resident.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you to the PVA and to Councilor
Thank you,
Todd
Yes.
for
Councilor.
hosting
Thank
us.
you, Councilman
that's fine.
Todd.
No, we're very happy to do this. Again, I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, but I think we still had a great meeting and a great discussion. Lots of really good questions,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
I'm sure there'll be more as we continue to move forward
Absolutely.
through the program. But
I haven't gotten any notice of any ones in my ward for any meetings.
No.
of any sort, no?
well, this is Penacook. So it's, your Ward 2, as I understand, right? So that you're
But I'm Penacook.
yeah. Well, that's Penacook, Ward 1, Ward 2. Yeah, we're trying to do different meetings. The other meetings are going to take place in. Is there one at the citywide community center?
Yep,
Is
so
that?
there's
Yes.
one- we're doing the Heights, we're doing city council chambers. The hard thing is finding large spaces that we can
Yes.
fit people, hoping we get more, we're always optimistic we're gonna get a lot of people.
Yeah.
So we try for big spaces,
Right.
and we're limited in our big spaces. So we were hoping to catch Penacook and other northern communities here, and then we'll have the Heights for East Concord and the Heights, and then downtown to get West Side and.
I went around to my neighbors, now
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know that there were some people that wrote to me and said they couldn't make it here tonight. So that's the advantage of having Concord TV here, so that folks will get to be able to hear that information. But, you know, it's so strange. Electricity is such an exciting topic. Getting your electric bill, isn't it? Something that everybody loves to do as a hobby. I don't understand why we can't get more people here on a beautiful sunny summer day. I think we did pretty well, and I do thank you all for coming out. And
Yes, thank you guys for having us.
Yep, and thank you again for presenting
Of
tonight. We
course,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening.